diesel at $1.36. I don't know why. Because the price of a, and along with taxes, fuel taxes, doesn't support 78 cents. I mean, that below 78 cents a gallon is below. I don't know if this was a sale, if this was a something that was promotion by being subsidized by someone or some company. I don't know. The story from Fox 5 NY did not mention it. Just said they were going 79 cents a gallon. But, in the next couple of weeks, it should be within 2 weeks, it should be back above $1. Last I checked, wasn't a barrel of oil, it was 30-ish dollars. I mean, most places are still paying. Buck off. Great news. Well, no, not really. It's not really great news. See, this is the problem again. We're lacking in education. People automatically assume. Look, you've got people in this country who've always hated Walmart. And they hate Walmart, and they say Walmart doesn't pay their employees enough. And Walmart says, well, we're in a competitive business, retail industry, and we're trying to be the lowest priced retailer out there. And you have all these people saying, well, maybe you should raise prices. And then some of these same people are saying maybe Walmart should raise prices. They're saying that, this low gas price is so great. Well, not really. Because there are people in the oil industry right now, especially in the oil and gas exploration and extraction part of the industry, and those people that deal directly with those types of jobs that are connected to it, support jobs, they're being lost. And these are high-paying jobs. And, sometimes North Dakota and South Dakota and parts of Montana, some of those blue-collar jobs are paying $60,000 or $70,000 a year. We're talking a kid can graduate from high school, no experience or college education, go to work in one of these oil fields and be making $50,000 within 6 to 12 months. In upwards of nearly six figures within 5, it's already been happening. But those are the kind of jobs that are being lost. So tell me how that's good for the economy if unemployment's going to go up. Not good for the economy. There are parts, there are reasons behind this. We know what those reasons are. Those reasons are that OPEC, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and other places, what they're doing is they've turned on the spigots. They're not controlling their production, and they know that the free flow of oil is going to bring down the price dramatically. And it's all, it's about ISIS trying to garner as much cash as they can to keep their... And for OPEC, especially Saudi Arabia, it's trying to harm and shut down the American oil industry. That includes the United States and Canada. We've already seen it. So basically, what economists are telling us is that a break-even point for U.S. and Canadian, and really the extraction of what it costs to take the oil out of the ground and to ship it, is about $40 to $45 a barrel. Now, to really make a decent, all those high salaries, you need about $70 a barrel. But 45 is about the break-even point. And yet now we're down below 20, So is that if you're below the break-even point, what happens? You start losing money. Well, those oil companies, Rod, they're making too much money. Okay, so now they start losing money. Are they going to pay taxes? Because Bernie Sanders is out there talking about paying, corporate America paying their fair share. How does corporate America pay their fair share if they're losing money? How does corporate America contribute to the government coffers if those corporations, those businesses are losing money? They're not making a profit. What happens when somebody's not making a profit? We've already seen this before. It's never failed. Company doesn't make a profit. What's the first thing they do? They lay off workers. They lay off people. For those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Real Linda, that means firing them. And then, if they can't fire enough people in order to bring the company profitable, what happens? Company goes bankrupt, into liquidation, and everybody loses their job, including a bunch of people in support positions. Those, hey, you got some towns where they're industry specific or industry heavy, where you have a significant number of people who are employed by one employer or in one industry, and that industry takes a tank. Well, what happens to the support industry? Well, they lose money too, and they start laying off people. And some of the smaller mom and pop shops begin to go out of business. It's kind of hard to sell beer for $2 a bottle when the person doesn't even have $2 in his pocket because he has no job. So bars go out of business too. I know. Geez, holy macroley, bars are going to go out of business? Well, that can't be. We can't all. It's kind of funny when you start talking about certain industries and certain. Bernie Sanders says, so let's break up all the big banks. Really? How many people are you going to put out of work when you break up these big banks? Understand, when companies merge, there is some savings that is had because there's some overlap, obviously. In other words, in most cases, when two companies merge, well, everybody has to look out for their job. They can't have two CEOs, so one of them has to go. That's the one thing about mergers. When you're talking about mergers and acquisitions, whether it be a small, medium, or huge corporation, there's some turmoil at the top as well as at the middle and at the bottom. Trying to eliminate duplication. That's where the savings comes in. And so when you split something apart, well, yeah, now you're going to need two CEOs instead of one. Great. So the top gets another job. Fine. What about all the rest? Well, all those jobs don't come back because now the company's smaller. There isn't a need. A small business may only need one accountant, so they hire somebody. They hire a private accountant because that accountant doesn't have to work on that small business, 8 hours a day. But a company that has, say, 1,000 employees, they will probably need an in-house accountant. So they'll have an in-house accountant. But if you break that company up, now they're a company now of 100 employees each. Well, now you might not need that accountant. So there are going to be job losses when you break up. When they broke up AT&T a long time ago, back in the 80s, broke up Ma Bell and the Baby Bells. There were people that lost their jobs. There was some pain. Now, we can look back and say, yeah, but it was a great thing. Well, maybe. All they had to do was just allow competition. They didn't have to break up Ma Bell in order to get competition. They just had to allow competition, true competition. Because, Ma Bell was operating under the purvey of monopolies back then. Government sanctioned, we still had government sanctioned monopolies up until a few years ago. It's called the energy sector, or, you didn't used to have a choice up until recently where you got your electricity from. Now you really, You kind of do, but you still kind of don't, because now they split up the electric companies, and even the electric companies that still own both parts are kind of split up. You've got the transmission side, in other words, those who own the power lines, and the side that actually provides the power. Well, you still don't have a choice about the power lines. Your old electric company still owns those, and they're still charging you a hefty sum for those power lines. So the only place that you get to save money or get to compare prices is on the provider side. But that's relatively new. Before, a few years ago, you didn't have a choice. You moved into a neighborhood, you had one electric company. That was it. And that was government sanctioned. Well, government gets involved, people lose their jobs. Government gets involved and they say, well, we're trying to increase competition. Well, all they do is institute more laws that make competition nearly impossible. The entry level to a lot of these industries now is rising higher and higher and higher and higher, making it very difficult for anybody to start a new company, to start a new business. How do you do it when you just can't do it because the cost is way too high in certain industries? Starting, for instance, a radio station. If there is an available, first of all, the airspace or license, which is a bunch of bunk. There could be more than what they have available. There could be more. There's more spectrum there. But try getting a license, first of all. I mean, you got to go through all kinds of crapola and expense just to be approved for the license. And then when you get approved, now you got to pay for it, which ain't cheap either. And then you got to do certain things and have certain kinds of equipment or rent certain kinds of equipment or buy certain kinds, and more, all due to regulation. And frankly, it is designed to keep the small guy, the small mom and pop, out of the industry. Government regulation. Try starting your own. Make your own gas or diesel or ethanol. See how far you get with that before the government slaps you down. You can only make a limited amount. You know that. In some cases, the state also comes in and says you're only allowed to make so much. But in most cases, it's the Fed limitation that you can only make so much. Because if you make more than their so-called legal limit, then you must apply to be a refiner or a manufacturer, and that regulation gets involved. And you go from having a simple still, gasoline still or diesel, homemade diesel still that may run you $3,000 or $5,000 with all equipment in, to all of a sudden having to deal in millions of dollars. Check it out. Government red tape, government regulation. And the regulation is getting hefty even for the smallest of business. Getting heftier and heftier. So when you look at it, is 78 cents a gallon really a good idea? Sure, back in 1985. 2016, it might not be so much. It is what it is, but what it is not very good for the economy. And you have a bunch of people out there saying, well, it's not my fault that people are losing their jobs, but hey, it is. Obama's running around taking credit for the oil price dropping, but it's not his fault that anybody's losing their job, though. Somebody else who cannot step up, be a man, take responsibility for his decisions, and stop blaming others. children.